Hello YouTube. So I'm here driving. This is the best time for me to, make a video because I've been so busy lately. So I'll talk about a little bit about myself, introduce myself so you guys get to know me a bit better and so on. So I've been learning about stocks and trading, banking, finances, economics the past 10 years. That's where my knowledge lies. Back in 2017 is when I started taking it really, very seriously. And that's when I started to invest in itself. I started trading somewhere around 2019. I started trading in 2017, but it was just messing around. I didn't know what I was doing. In fact, it's such a difficult thing to learn. You can never say you actually master it because it takes so many years, probably decades, to master trading. Be that day trading, swing trading, long-term trading / investing. So I just want to, provide some feedback as to what I've learned over the years and how you can benefit from it, maybe. And before I say anything, by the way, I just want to say I'm not a financial advisor, so don't take any advice from me. Anyways, in 2017 was when I started listening to Mike Maloney. And I started learning about banking and gold and silver, and that's when I started thinking about these type of things, and it actually goes back further than that. When I was 12 years old, I went to the Department of Treasury, or where they print money. I forget that building. There's an actual building where they take you on a tour in Washington D.C., where you can see how they print money. I don't know if that building is from the Treasury itself, or if it's just like a tour building or whatever. But anyways, that's where my questions started to arise as to why do we work for this paper when these people can print it? So I found that to be so dishonest, and at 12 years old, I didn't even know. That's just. I started doubting this whole system we live in, which is a system of slavery, where the Federal Reserve is up top, and we all have to abide by their rules, because they control our currency. So they get to dictate what goes on in our economy. And some say they buy politicians, they buy countries. I believe so. But anyways, so in 2017 I started learning from Mike Maloney through YouTube. Very informative. That man knows so much. I would highly recommend everyone to learn from him, and also Peter Schiff. It'll teach you the foundation of how our system works, and how currency works, money, etc. So in 2017 I started messing around with cryptocurrencies like a lot of young people. I thought it was a great idea back then. I still think it has potential, but the way it functions as a whole, as a cryptocurrency market, I don't think it's viable. We have to, if we're going to use a currency, it has to be scarce, right? We can't have 20,000 cryptocurrencies competing against each other, because that doesn't work. There's a reason why each country has one currency, and we trade with that, right? The euro, the dollar, the yen, and so on. So we just can't have 20,000 cryptocurrencies, and each day there's more being created. So that's just not viable. The fact that Bitcoin is scarce, yes, that's good, but it also needs to be able to withstand all the necessary transactions per second that need to be able to be used in order for the whole planet to use it. So that's not viable either, except probably with the Lightning Network. So anyways, all these systems, none of them are perfect, and we've been trying that maybe since the beginning of time. How can humans exchange value amongst each other? And that's been a very difficult problem to solve ever since the beginning of time. You know, humans used to trade seashells, paper, currency, which is what we have today, gold, silver, rocks, and probably hundreds of other things. I don't come to my mind right now. But we've traded so many things for value, and the hope is to over time evolve that process, but it hasn't been that way. So we were on the gold standard till 71, and then we were taken off the gold standard. So that was a bad decision. Now we have free floating currencies. So the Federal Reserve prints whatever they want. That doesn't work. So what do I personally think would be a great alternative to what we have today? Well, the Federal Reserve should cease to exist. That's number one. And number two, we shouldn't have currency based on debt like we have now. Number three, in order to make a more stable currency, it should be based not only on, for example, gold and silver, but it should be based on other commodities as well. Copper, platinum, palladium, gold, silver, in combination, probably or possibly, with a scarce cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. So value being derived from all of these previously mentioned, for example, and then we use a currency to trade using that as a basis. So I personally think that should probably be the best scenario or best type of thing to use, because you would have a scarce currency. You could use it as a cryptocurrency for today's digital world, which is necessary. And it needs to be verifiable, of course. We have to have what a country holds needs to be verifiable at all times. Because what has happened in the past is countries store gold, but then they perform fraud. They say they have X amount of ounces when they don't, and it just makes it a fraudulent system. So whatever system we use as a human species needs to be verifiable, and because we can't rely on trust, trust but verify. Verification is necessary at all times. Humans can't be trusted with currencies. That's for sure. That's obvious. Humans can't be trusted with anything, basically. We always have to have checks and balance over everything. That's how our government works. Although it doesn't work that great, because we have all this type of fraud going on and corruption in our system, in our government system. take a look at what happened previously to Alex Jones. The guy's being sued for $46 million over something he said online. Like, what happened to freedom of speech? But then on the flip side, you have these people in power. Bill Gates. You have the Epstein client list. You have Hillary Clinton and her emails. George Soros, Fauci. These people aren't being investigated, but then Alex Jones, his livelihood is about to be destroyed for a $46 million lawsuit on something frivolous, something, petty and ridiculous, over something he said. I obviously think it was incorrect what he did say, but that doesn't, I don't think that's, it doesn't merit $46 million. Come on, that's ridiculous. So he said he's going in bankruptcy due to that. And then what happened previously to Trump was the FBI investigating him. That I think is political. Right before the elections. So what you can see here is the FBI is used as a tool for the elite, for the people in power to do whatever they want. And so I left on a tangent, but my point is we gotta have checks and balances because humans can't be trusted, period. The same thing goes with our currency and our whole economic system, our political system. We need more transparency, not less. We need less censorship on the internet. And those are things that are being slowly taken away. The people in power, they've seen how the internet is taking away their power, and they're taking, they're taking people's voices away. Banning certain people from YouTube, from Google, which is it's not right. All these big tech platforms, they're all in cahoots with each other. They're all together. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Google. Whenever they want to ban someone, they ban them outright at the same time. So something Tate said previously was, I don't know if you guys have heard of Andrew Tate. He got banned at the same time. They took away his bank account. They took away some payment processors. They took away his right to be on social media all at the same day. And what he said was, well, is there someone on top of them telling them what to do? So that was his question. And that's pretty scary, It's the fact that all these social platforms are together, and the fact that there's probably someone above them telling them what to do on their behalf. It's a sad situation in which we live in, where freedom of speech is being taken away, and that's not what this country was founded upon. You just can't have a few at the top making decisions. It's always best for the collective to make decisions, for the collective to take the country in the direction where it needs to go. There's something called collective intelligence. It's much better and much more reliable than just a few people in power, than just a small group of people, which is what we have nowadays. We have a plutocracy in our system, in our government. But it's a strange kind of system that we have, in the US, because not only is there just a few billionaires that control the system, we also have the Federal Reserve, and then we also have corporations and also the government. So it's like all these forces joined together to form what we have today. So it's a strange system. It's not even government. It's a combination of all those, plus the banking sector. They have a huge influence over what goes on. So it's mostly about money. It's a system where money is the most important thing, and that's what makes the decisions, or the people in power make decisions based on the money factor. I would think that's the most appropriate way to describe our current system, which is really sad. I mean, that example, you can see it in healthcare, just to give an idea, where other countries can have medications at certain prices cheaper, but we don't, because profits, right? And so many other things. Our education. Talking about education, by the way, the reason we have such an inflated price on education, or prices on education, tuition fees and so on, is because of federal grants, student loans, what Biden is talking about now, of the student loan forgiveness. All these things in combination are what makes inflated college prices, because these universities, they can just keep raising prices, because obviously someone's going to pay them. Someone's going to pay for those prices. Students are going to pay those prices. The government is going to pay. So the government is subsidizing colleges in the U.S. So because they're subsidized, they're able to raise prices. Same with the food in the supermarkets. WIC and all these other programs where they give out vouchers for food. Well, you're subsidizing supermarkets so they can raise prices. Producers can raise prices. If we didn't have so many vouchers or coupons or this social safety net, prices wouldn't be so high. Same with renting, apartments, housing. The list goes on and on and on. It's a very long list of how our government, due to its programs, causes imbalances in the system itself, and the people who suffer are the people that can't benefit from those programs. So it's an unjust, unfair system, especially if you're single. If you're young, well, you're screwed in so many ways, especially with the tax system. You can't take advantage of certain taxes. If you don't have a business, you can't take advantage of the tax system as well. So it's so many different things, so many different issues. We are far from being perfect. That is for sure. But what I'm trying to say with this video is, these are subjects that need to be discussed, because not a lot of people talk about them in government, and we just go about our daily lives as if everything is okay. No, not everything is okay. Things are pretty screwed up. Sure, the U.S. has a high standard of living, but is that standard of living real? Like, if we have 31 trillion, 32 trillion at this point in U.S. national debt. I haven't looked at that number in the past month or month and a half. Last time I looked, it was 30. But so, are we living in a lie? You know, is our standard of living fictitious because of our national debt? Probably, I think so. So there's gonna come a point where the U.S. it's gonna go, you know, come back to ground level. You know, people in the U.S. are gonna have to, you know, live below their means, and it's probably gonna happen in the next recession or depression, where the system is being pulled apart so thin to a point where it's going to become unsustainable. Right now, there's 8 or 9% inflation rate, and the Federal Reserve is trying to raise interest rates to curb inflation. But the thing is, corporations are so indebted. The population is so indebted that each rate hike that the Federal Reserve does, it plays a big role. It's very impactful for the U.S. So we're in a very bad spot. You know, 31 trillion in national debt, high inflation, and interest rates are really low right now. But they have to raise them in order to curb inflation. Quoting Peter Schiff on one of his videos, he said that in order to curb inflation, interest rates need to go above the inflation rate. So interest rates need to go above the inflation rate in order to control inflation. So you're talking about 9-10% on interest rates when we have 31 trillion in national debt. That's I don't know, that sounds like a disaster to me. You know, there's a lot of people living paycheck to paycheck, and so this whole system is messed up, and one of these days it's gonna break, it's gonna crack, it's gonna crumble. A lot of things need to change, you know. Currently, and I probably spoke about this in my previous video, but corporations need to start, you know, handing their profits to employees, not just, you know, do stock buybacks or pay dividends, because you're only benefiting, you know, the shareholders. So some of that value should go to employees, you know, the people building the company. Because it's just not fair. Some people don't want to play the stock markets, you know, because stock trading is hard. Stock markets are very difficult. So some people just want to, you know, get a job and go on with their lives. So one is basically forced to get into the stock market. Like, if you want to improve in your finances, you have to get involved in the stock market. And sure, it's got its pros and cons, of course, but you know what, you got to know what you're doing, because if you don't, you can get wiped out really bad, and then be many years in debt, paying off your mess up. So I used to trade before, and I tried day trading for a little while. I tried swing trading, and it's each one of these, you know, day trading, swing trading, long-term trading / investing. Each of these has their own pros and cons. I'll go over that right now. So basically, day trading is just another job, just with a lot more difficulty. You need to, keep up with current events. You need to learn about indicators. You need to learn about support and resistance. Higher lows, higher highs, stop losses, and so on. In a choppy market, or probably bear market, I believe day trading is the most appropriate thing. Swing trading is good when the market has a rally for a very long time as a whole. The downside to swing trading is gap downs. You buy a stock, hold it for a couple weeks, all of a sudden from one day to another it gaps down 10, 20%, 30%, or even worse. And then it happens at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And you're screwed at that point. So that's a flaw of swing trading. So I don't think swing trading is an appropriate way to trade. I do believe day trading is the way to go if you want to trade. The other alternative would be long-term trading / investing. And when I say that, I'm referring to most likely dividend investing, and specifically the dividend aristocrats. These companies that have paid dividends and have been raising dividends for the past 25 or 50 years. There's a difference between those two. There's dividend aristocrats and dividend kings. Dividend kings is the one where they've paid dividends for the past 25 years. The other one is 50 years, the aristocrats. So either or, I believe, would be a more appropriate way of investing. I mean, and obviously this is just my opinion. I mean, who am I to say? This stuff takes years and decades to learn. That's just the way I'm seeing it. But on the flip side as well, a downside to long-term investing through dividends is, well, sure, these companies are in the dividend aristocrats, sure, they're in the dividend kings, but for how long? They can at any point take off those dividends. And if you were holding the stock and the stock has been going down, and then all of a sudden the investors, the shareholders say, oh, well, we can't pay dividends any longer, or the CEOs or whatever, and they remove dividends, well, you got stuck with the bag with your stock that went down. So now you have a stock that doesn't pay a dividend, and you're stuck with the loss. So it has its drawbacks. Stocks aren't that reliable sources of investment. Businesses would probably be better, and or real estate would probably be better. You have more control over that. You don't have any control over what a stock does. You're just depending on what the company does, and you're making a decision, buying a stock because you think that management is making good decisions. But what if at some point they don't? What if they change management? Then you're screwed. And you gotta be on the lookout for all that stuff. You gotta be careful, because all that stuff plays a role in the stock price and how the stock performs. Not even that, the people at the top of these companies, they hold most of the shares, and if they want to sell for whatever reason, well, good luck. So you basically don't have any control over it. with a business, you do have a certain degree of control. You know, the government is above you, and then you're just competing against other companies as well. But you have a greater degree of control over what goes on. And then with real estate, you have control as well. You know, you can set your rental rates. You can raise prices every year. So that's great. You can make it a luxury rental and then raise the prices. That's cool. You can even choose your tenants. You can evict. You can if they don't pay you. So you have a bit more control that way. You know, passive income. And not only that, but banks lend you money to buy real estate, so that's great. You just gotta choose. You just gotta make sure you're buying into a state or a country that makes sense, right? You don't want to buy into a country or a state that has a lowering population, or people just moving out of the state because of, you know, dumb laws being created. So with any type of investment, trading, real estate, whatever you do, you know, it obviously takes a lot of time and energy and understanding and education and experience, and probably losses over many years to get to a point where you can say, okay, I can do this, I can do that. Because if life was easy, you know, if these things were easy, everyone would do it, right? So it takes a lot of understanding and education to learn all these things. It's not easy. It's very difficult. And if you come from a place where nobody taught you any of this stuff, it's even harder, you know, because you have to make a lot of mistakes and lose a lot of money and time and energy, and it's very difficult coming from nowhere to something, especially in this current market, this current environment. You know, it's I was born before 2000. So I went through 2008, through COVID, through this perpetual war that we've had in the U.S. since forever. Born in Puerto Rico, where there was, you know, Hurricane Maria, plus all the other difficulties and the issues that country has had over so many years. So it's been a very difficult path, and you know, I've tried to make the best out of it. I have a lot of experience, I can say that. I know how to make money, and I know how to lose money with the markets. But hopefully I am. There's a quote that I always liked. It goes as, if you don't win, you learn. So even if you lose, as long as you learn something, that's what matters. And that's what we have to take out of every decision that we make. Obviously, we should always take decisions in an informed manner. And the best way to do that is with collective intelligence. When I say that is, whenever you want to make a decision, you know, you can ask friends, family for advice. That's not a bad idea. And based on all the different advice that you get, you form your own decision. You form your own conclusion as to what you're gonna do, because you're gonna have more points of view. So thank you guys for listening to this YouTube video. Like and subscribe. I'll be making more videos. If you want more subjects, just put them on in the comments down below. I I know this video talked about many different things. I want to try and focus on certain subjects per each video, so just comment what you'd like for me to talk about, and then we'll make a video on that. Thank you guys. Take care.